Many people in the city are actually turning to container gardens to grow all their fresh veggies and their herbs. And I brought in Green Thumb Extraordinaire, that is John Hershey. And he is with Denver Urban Gardens, also known as, I love this, Doug. And we are going to start today by showing people how simple this really is. And you know, as a chef, there is nothing better when you can pull fresh herbs and veggies and use that in a dish that you've planted yourself and that you've watched to grow. Doug helps with that. How so?
It really is a great feeling to grow your own food. You know it's fresh and healthy, and it cuts down on your grocery bill too. Doug supports over 80 community gardens around the city at schools, parks, neighborhoods, where anybody who wants to can get a little plot of land and grow some of their own food.
I love that. So no matter where you are, you actually can sign up and go volunteer and help, and then you get to actually take home some of the veggies, which is wonderful. And then we're also talking about how these container gardens, you can plant pretty much anything in even a confined space, correct?
That's right. If you live in an apartment, or if you're older, if you have a disability and you can't really get down and work in the soil, a community garden is one good option, and container gardening right on your own patio is another great way to grow some food.
And how economical, because you know the hardware stores, they have a variety. You can buy the bigger square ones, correct?
Right.
And then you just use the flower pods. What do you have starting here?
This is a little pepper plant, a little banana pepper, and this is kind of a small container. You wouldn't want to go any smaller than this. To grow food, especially something like a tomato, some of your bigger things, you need a pretty big container, but it can be anything from a wooden box, terracotta pot, pretty much anything, as long as you have a good big enough size.
And then here you have all the fresh herbs for cooking.
That's right. Right here in one package we have basil, oregano, and parsley, everything you need for your pasta sauce that will grow over here with our tomatoes.
We're going to have to do that, aren't we? Well, let's show people how simple this is, and then we're going to get to some of the other stuff here. First, you have the big flower pot. Another great tip that I saw you do, you know, on the bottom where there's that hole for the water to go through, you want to put a rock so the water is able to seep through, correct?
That's right. You need a pot with a hole in the bottom so you don't get too soggy. Cover it with a little rock so the soil doesn't drain out. And with a tomato plant, we want to plant it real deep, so I only have a couple of inches of soil in here now.
Now that's a tip, correct? You want to plant very deep with the tomato plants. Oftentimes people don't.
That's right. You know, I'm even going to take off the bottom couple of branches here, because all of those little hairs, fibers that you see along there will turn into roots when we plant it in the ground, so the tomato will have a nice deep root system.
We're gonna have some good pasta sauce, aren't we?
Oh, wonderful,
oh,
yeah.
I can already smell that.
So,
go ahead.
I'm going to handle it gently.
And you
take it out of
recycle
there.
Things. You actually have starter plants and milk cartons, and then I love down here too, if you want to, yeah.
Right.
Newspaper.
Yeah, everything can be cheap and recycled.
Love it.
This is a pretty new one. This one I started from seed about 2 months ago, so it's getting pretty big already. Got a nice root system. So we'll get that down real deep.
All right. Now, do you kind of want to break things apart a little bit here? Oh, I got to get on my gardening gloves. What am I doing here?
And now we're going to fill it in. We have a mixture. Soil is the most important thing in gardening. So we have a mixture here of 50% or good organic potting soil and 50% compost, organic compost, which comes from the backyard, is the best place to get it, to make it yourself. Or if you don't do that yet, you can get started, but buy some good organic compost at any garden center.
You know what else is? I need to mention this actually in our backyard here, 9 News, we're planting a garden. So we're investing in, you know, Mother Nature and growing our own veggies.
That's fantastic. Everybody's doing it nowadays.
Now how full do we have to go here?
Well, we're going to fill it all the way up. Let's
just pour that in there.
Yeah, okay. And we don't want to pack it down too much. Yeah, get our hands dirty.
Very good.
But we're going to fill it up all the way to the top, up to that top set of leaves there.
That looks good.
Dump it all in there.
There we go.
We'll cover it right up to that set of branches, and then, you know, if we want, we could even plant a little row of lettuce or chard. You mentioned you like chard.
Oh, I love Swiss chard, yes.
Yeah. Little ring of greens around the edge. We're going to put this big cage on because this, this plant is going to get...
on. Denise and Mark, here comes the heavy duty part here.
Heavy equipment.
Watch out!
Right.
And then someone could even put this right on their back porch if they're an apartment, townhome, anywhere. And this helps it to grow up, correct?
It looks silly now, but this plant is going to get huge. It'll fill up this whole thing. You can plant some edible flowers, nasturtiums or calendula, something like that, to grow up the side, and you've got a meal in a pot right there.
Now here, before we go, we have to discuss this. Oh my word. This egg shells for composting.
Right, you know,
And
actually,
fertilizer?
yeah, you know, especially for tomatoes, we should have dumped it in the bottom. I forgot to do that, but we can sprinkle it around the top too.
Okay.
A lot of the problems with tomatoes, you get a big, beautiful tomato, then right when you're about to harvest it, it turns black at the bottom.
We
Have
don't
you
want
seen
that.
That's called blossom end rot, and it's due to a lack of calcium. So the eggshells give you the calcium that you need.
We have about 30 seconds here before I have to chat with Denise and Mark a little bit more here because I have an idea in mind.
Okay.
This is worm gunk.
Worm poop.
Yeah, go ahead and say it. This goes under your sink that you create this.
Yeah, it's vermicompost, which is compost made by worms. It's incredibly rich and great fertilizer for plants. A little bucket of red wiggler worms under the kitchen sink. Throw some veggie scraps in, and you get the world's best fertilizer right there.
Well, speaking of these eggshells, Denise and Mark, I have this crazy idea. You know, I'm a country girl that's actually turned city girl, and I really want to raise some chickens.
Great.
So are you going to help me out with that? And I also want to get a plot of land. So I'm going to try to raise some chickens. You know, I never thought I'd be going this far back to my roots.